according to the NCTM standard, as you can see, problem solving, reasoning and proof, communication, connection, and representation. So I just want here, in addition, I also want you to see your classmate opinion, and then after looking at the others' opinion, you may develop your own idea more clearly. It might be helpful for you to do your homework, first homework as well as the second homework assignments, miscellaneous items. So we did this one, right? So please access ping pong, and then I'm going to ask you questions. Okay, then I'm going to start the question you need to answer. So do you think which process is most important? Please click A, B, C, D, E. Anyway, you can see your classmate opinion about the importance of the 5 process, right? Which one is most important? Reasoning and proof from your perspective. What about the second one? Problem solving, right? What about the third one? Connection, right? As you can see, but you don't have to agree with your classmate opinion, but you need to take a look at, right? What about other thinking about the 5 process? That's what I'm going to show you. Okay, let's go to the next problem then. What about so what kind of problem can you think about? Maybe this one, once again, I'm going to show you. You need to select just A, B, C, one of them. Yeah, let's start that. As I said last time, I already talked about this issue, right? But I just want to show you, I want you to show you, the result once again, because some student didn't come to last class, so I just want to show you once again the result. So routine, non-routine problem I explained last time, right? So what is the meaning of them? And what about one step, 2 or more step problem? Or what is just only one context problem or integrate problem? So you need to take a look at, it might be helpful for you to think about, first and second miscellaneous item. You didn't decide yet? If you want to, you can change your mind. But I want to see your opinion before proceeding further. Still 4 left. Okay, I'm going to show you. As you can see, I think almost a similar pattern compared to the last time. 이거를 지금 세이브할 수는 없죠.
화면 스마트폰 색깔로 가져가지고.
제가 가져올래요. 이렇게. As you can see, your opinion about problem solving. I think you think half of students think one step or versus 2 or more step problem much more important, right? 16 students think of integrate problem is important. 9 students think about non-routine problem is much more important than the other two categories, right? As you can see. Anyway, so one of the main purposes of doing this kind of activity in the classroom, you need to take a look at others' opinion, okay? And then if you'd like to approach any, mathematical essay problem or any story problem, any assessment item, you need to think about your idea in balance, right? Otherwise, maybe your idea can be biased, right, compared to others. That's why I want you to see the results. Oh, your idea is not just unique, right, compared to others. Others people think differently. What about the next problem then? So what kind of reasoning can you think about? If you reasoning, especially in the category of reasoning and proof, what kind of reasoning can you think of? What kind of reasoning is the most important from your perspective while you are teaching as a pre-service teacher? That's basically my question. Can you guess how many reasoning, by the way, in mathematics? How many reasoning can you think of? Today is 18, isn't it? Let's see, 18. Sungju? What do you think? You have heard many times, right? Reasoning. In Korean, churon, right? So do you think how many reasoning in mathematics? Just guess. At least you can think of induction and deduction, right? It depends. I think it depends on how you can define the term reasoning. It is obvious, right? Some people use the word reasoning more broadly, right? Some people maybe restrict that term maybe in a limited way. But anyway, so you can think of induction, deduction, or inference. Inference a little different, right? Also maybe integration. Have you heard the Gestalt theory? From the whole perspective, you have look at the mathematics. For instance, you need to see mathematics as a whole. One of the good examples, Gestalt perspective. In other words, the reasoning, what is it? Integration. In order to find out the area of this parallelogram, right? How can you see that? This one, you can cut it up this triangle part and moving to this way. This is the same as the area of a rectangle, right? Makes sense? This is basically, an ability to see mathematics as a whole. Okay, this kind of reasoning is kind of integration. It is called. Anyway, so I just want to clarify abstraction, right? Many people are using abstraction as well. So simplification, right? You're supposed to simplify, right? Mathematics, because to complicate story problem, for instance, you need to simplify those ideas and then make some linear or quadratic equation, right? Or just to complicate mathematical problem, you can simplify in order to solve that problem. Or generalization, right? We have heard many generalization, right? How to generalize? For instance, case 1, case 2, related to induction, right? But the generalization much more broad term compared to induction. Specification. Anyway, let's see. I just provide as much as I can, all reasoning, right? All kind of reasoning. So you can think of maybe different reasoning from your perspective. Anyway, let's see. I just want to upload this result in the PPT in EKU. That's why I'm recording your results. Oh, this should be. Let me see. 이걸 같이 해야 될 것 같아, 그죠? 그래 나중에
이거 클릭 한번 해주세요.
이렇게.
뒤로 가시면 되죠.
Okay. Let's see. This. Let's see. Okay, let's start this problem then. Okay, don't start yet. Okay, you can start. This is technological limitation, but you can have only 5 selection. So after 5, you can select. If you're going to select E, I'm going to see maybe abstraction, simplification, all the other options. Anyway, this is technical limitation. I'm sorry about that, but there is no way, to provide more option by using ping pong. Well, anyway, so I'm going to just, hear your opinions. Other than that, induction, deduction, inference, and integration, you can just push the E. Okay, then I'm going to see your opinion. Anyway, induction, deduction is the most important, I think, reasoning you can think of, right, in middle school and high school mathematics. That's why I provide, first. Also inference, probably you may think of, inferences as a reasoning, as important factors. Anyway, so I just want to see your opinion about that. As I emphasized many times, many questions I provide in this class, there's no right or wrong answer, right? You just need to clarify your idea, why you selected this option, okay? So you don't have to worry about, right? Am I correct or am I wrong? You just need to develop your own idea. 19, only 19. It's hard to answer to that question. You still thinking? 20. 질문이 안 떠요? 선생님 뭐가 잘못된 것 같은데요? 뭐가 안 뜬다는데.
요청 안 되시나요?
안 되시는 분 한번 손 들어보세요. 저희가 다시 재요청했습니다.
진행자 요청을 기다리겠습니다만 뜨신 분 혹시 계세요? A, B, C, D 안 뜨고?
아, 됐네요. I'm really curious about this question. Curious about your opinion about this question. So let's take a look at what is the result of this one. 38. Still 10 students left. 42. 6 left. Okay, let's request once again. If there is problem, please raise your hand. This is the part of, limitation using technology in class. Let's see. Ooh. As you can see, from your perspective, right? In middle school and high school mathematics, induction is the most important reasoning. And then second one, what is it? Deduction, right? What about the third one? What is it, D? Oh, Gestalt. And E and C. I'm just wonder, because due to the limited time, I'm not going to ask you, a lot of questions, but I just want to hear D. Let's see, who selected D? 어디 있죠? 이거죠? 둘에? Why did you select D? Can you explain to us your opinion? 좀 더 크게 이야기해 줄래요? 이쪽이 안 들려.
주어진 전제에서 연역적으로 할 수 있는 작업은 저는 무한하다고 보거든요. 거기서 올바른 방향을 설정을 하는 거는 마치 바다 태풍장 한가운데서 조명탄을 던져놓고서 그게 바로 그 게슈탈트적인 어떤 통합에 의해서 이루어진다고. 거기까지 가는데 연적인 스텝이 이루어지는 게 추론의 본질적인 어떤 과정이라고.
If I interpreted your thinking correctly, can I summarize this way? Just the sum of parts can be a whole. This kind of reasoning is so important in mathematics. Are you talking about this way? So in Korean, 부분의 합이 전체를 이루고 그 과정이 중요하다 이렇게 이해할 수 있어요. 그러니까 reasoning part 부분이 이렇게 the sum of parts. Right? 그 부분을 지적한 거예요. Can you point it out?
그러니까 그 수학자 중에 라마누잔 같은 수학자 있잖아요. 결국에는 저는 그 신에 대한 기도를 통해서 통합이 순식간에 일어나는 거라고 보고 있거든요. 라마누잔이 그거를 연역적으로 수학적인 용어로 그걸 표현하지 못했던 것처럼 본질적으로 어떤 문제를 추론하는 데 있어서 결국에는 그 추론의 첫 번째 어떤 그 관심은 어떤 그런 성강처럼 통합에 의한 기술적인
Okay. It's much more like an insight, right?
네, 그거를 이제 거기까지 도달하는 거를 설명하는 게 그 연역적 추론이 아닐까.
Did you understand Dure's opinion about the inferences? I'm just curious. Let's see. So Hae-yun, I want to hear your opinion as well. Why did you select D? Just can you explain to all of us?
저는 그 게시탈트의 개념 중에서 전체는 부분하고 이루지만 그 전체의 그 단순한 요소 하나하나의 합이 전체가 될 수 없다는 그 모자이크의 원리였잖아요. 그것을 생각해서 제가 이거를 찍었거든요. 그러니까 추론의 과정의 하나하나가 다 중요하지만 물론 그 통찰력 인사이트 매우 중요한 요소이고 여러 가지 너무 종합적인 것들이 리스닝에는 필요한 요소라고 생각을 하기 때문에
I think that's exactly what I wanted actually from the D. So he is pointing out very important thing. You need to think about in terms of developing conceptual framework as well as assessment item. The sum of parts is bigger than the whole. Do you understand the meaning? Do you agree with that? In mathematics, Gestalt pointed out that important perspective. If you're going to just analyze parts, right? It looks like the sum of the parts is the whole, right? For instance, A, B can be analyzed from the whole. So the sum of A and B equal to the whole. Gestalt didn't consider that way. He think the theorists, related to Gestalt theory, they think, the sum of part, right, is bigger than whole. And you need to think about it's a philosophical issue, but in terms of reasoning, I just want to point out that part. Anyway, that's a really good perspective from Hae-yun. Anyway, so I just show you your opinion about this question. Let's move to the next question. What kind of communication can you think about? The most important parts. I'm going to show you 3 of them, right? What is it? To oneself and to others, and analyze, evaluate thinking of others. 그냥 없어져 버렸네. 찍는 걸 없어졌고 저장돼 있네. 또 저장한 거 잊어버렸네. 이거는 그냥 찍어야 돼. 그래서 내가 잊어버리더라.
어떻게? 오래 돌려.
Okay, let's start then. 이거 해야 되죠. Why don't you answer the question? Still 5 left. You need to carefully select this time because I'm going to ask. At least I'm going to select from 1 student from each category. 근데 선택을 빨리 하면 앞에 나오나요?
그건 제가 잘 모르겠어요.
그냥 뒤로 아니면 그럼 밑으로 내려서 봐요. 왜냐면 먼저 누른 사람은 계속 그럼 되잖아요.
내리는 스크롤이니까.
Okay, 2 more. Okay, let's see. I want to hear each of them. Let's see. This time I'm going to scroll down from the bottom. Okay, let's see. There is no A. Let's see. What is the full O? 송화성? Yeah. Why don't you tell us your opinion? Why did you select A? Just speak loud to hear all of it.
일단은 제가 기본적으로 갖고 있는 생각은 수학의 기호나 그리고 수학에서 사용되는 기호 같은 것들도 일종의 언어라고 생각을 하거든요. 근데 다른 점은 수학의 언어는 대화를 주된 목적으로 하는 언어는 아닌 것 같아요. 이런 식으로 대화를 하진 않잖아요. 그러니까 자기 혼자서 수학적 개념으로 내가 설명할 수 있는 것을 서로 호환하는 것이 가장 중요한 것이라고 생각해서 일단은 스스로에게서 언어를 내가 잘 사용하는 언어로 바꾸거나 서로 바꿀 수 있는 것, 그게 가장 커뮤니케이션에서 필요한 것이라고 생각합니다.
Let's see then, why don't you select B, 황정식.
수학은 제 생각에 혼자 하는 학문은 아니라고 생각이 되기 때문에 예를 들어서 수학을 나는 이렇게 생각하는데 다른 사람은 이렇게 생각하는데 예를 들어 기호의 차이 같은 것도 혼자가 결정한다고 해서 기호가 이거를 여러 사람들 쓰는 게 아니기 때문에 혼자뿐만이 아니라 다른 사람들하고 커뮤니케이션을 해서 수학을 이끌어나가는 그런 게 필요하다고 생각합니다.
Do you think two different view? But anyway, so maybe I'm going to give you a chance to argue each other maybe next time, but not this time, okay? You just to hear others' opinion, okay? What about do they just present it? So I had to select Im Junhyuk. Junhyuk, what do you think? Why did you select C? You listened to two students' opinion about that, right? Okay.
이제 자신의 생각을 이제 나름대로 이제 문제를 풀면서 가지고 이제 수학 문제를 풀면서 자신 생각을 정리하잖아요. 근데 이제 자신의 생각만 가지고 그 수학 문제에 대한 이해가 정확하지 않을 수 있다고 보기 때문에 남들의 의견들을 잘 분석하고 그것들을 나름대로 평가를 해보면서 지금 수학자 그런 걸 확장할 수 있지 않을까.
Okay. 찍을래요? So anyway, so as you can see, three students, right, think differently about the same question, right? But they do have their rationale, right? Why they think in that way, right? You just think about the balance. So do you understand the point I want to really address from this kind of question? Based on several questions, right, you realize different people have different perspective on the same question, right? But that's going to be a first starting point in terms of developing your assessment item. That's why I'm spending some time, right, to hear your opinion about the question. Okay, you need to think about why. Especially for the miscellaneous item, the first miscellaneous item, your group are supposed to select one of the 5 process, right? So you need to think about why we need to select this one out of 5. After selecting one process, you're supposed to analyze problem, right? So you need to realize both of them. What kind of advantage if you are going to select this problem? What kind of disadvantage of selecting this item, right? You always need to find out balance between your selection. This is going to be the starting point in order to think in depth from mathematics education perspective. That's why I'm asking this kind of question. Okay, let's move to the next question then. Obviously, you need to think about also speaking, listening, writing, and reading, right? In terms of communicating with oneself and with others. It's much more complicated than that. So anyway, at least I'm providing the example. Communicating with oneself. As you pointed out, communicating with oneself, right? You emphasize. Communicating with others, right? You emphasize. But in both of them, there are speaking, writing, right? Listening and reading should be included. You need to think about, right? What about next question? What kind of connection can you think about? The most important from your perspective. Other area of mathematics, other area of the curriculum, the real world. Let's start then. A second. You need to carefully select. Once again, I'm going to hear your opinion from each category representative. Still 7 left. Four left. A, B, C. Okay, A is other area of mathematics. Okay, let's see. Once again, from the bottom. C, A, B. Okay. C, 신문성. Let's start A. 회소영. And B, C. Let's see. 소영이, why did you select A? Can you explain to us? Speak loud, please. 네. Basically, she's pointing out within mathematics, right? Connection within mathematics is much more emphasized, right? Compared to maybe a horizontal connection. Let's see, what about then 신일순?
A가 수학과 다른 분야 수학 외에 다른 분야
The first one is the other area of mathematics means within mathematics. 수학 내에서의 connection을 말하는 거고요. B는 그 physics나 other area of the curriculum, 교육 과정에 있는 과목들, 그러니까 physics 이런 의미고요. 그 다음에 C는 3은 실제 real life context. A little different though, right? As you can see. So different area mean different mathematics, different subject, right? In high school, middle school curriculum. And the final one is real life context. Oh, I see. Okay. So then you wanna change it, maybe A? Okay. Then let's ask maybe 이성용? Why did you select B?
수학이 원래 다른 학문에 구애받지 않고 스스로 발전하는 학문이기도 하지만 다른 학문들이 이제 그 수학을 필요로 하는 경우가 많기 때문에 그게 리얼 월드하고 또 그렇지 않은 경우와 상관없이 다른 학문이 필요하는 것 같아서 그래서 3번에 포함하는 이유로 생각해서는 2번 했습니다. 그래서 다른 과목이 필요한 경우가 많기 때문에
So one of the important thing you should think about, about 200 years ago, there is no separation between physics and mathematics. You need to think about, right? Maybe in 300 years ago, maybe if you're going to be in class, right? You're talking about at the same time, physics and mathematics. Nowadays, because both of them develop too much, that's why they are separated. Nowadays, even nowadays, within mathematics, we separated a lot. For instance, algebra, geometry, right? Other applied mathematics. Even some mathematicians cannot understand other mathematicians in other areas. Like, mathematicians who specialize in algebra, they may not follow, problem solving, even reasoning in other areas like, analysis. That's the current situation you may think of. What about the C then? Let's see. 신문성?
아무래도 세계에서 그런 게 필요해서 공부하고 하니까 지금까지 발전하지 않나 지금 수학까지.
Basically, real life, problem is maybe much more important than other area because, based on those kind of application, we can maybe understand better mathematics, right? So also we can develop, our own mathematics. That's why he's selecting, C. Let me ask you the last question, probably, and then I'm going to move forward. Anyway, so after looking at all of those answers, you need to think about other classmates' opinion about the same question. I'm going to upload this picture into the PowerPoint. Okay, you can take a look at the result for each question. Okay. What about the next question? So, what kind of representation can you think about? Most important. Creation and uses, selection and application, and translation. Do you understand what is the meaning of that? Because last time, in the category of representation, I analyzed, right? 3 of them. I just explained. So think about okay, it's time for you to select one of them, and then I want to also listen to your opinion. Nine students still left. I'm going to hear your opinion as well. You need to carefully select. You need to provide your reason. Why did you select A, B, or C? I think one more students, right? Okay, let's see. Maybe one of you just pushed the wrong button, right? Accidentally, right? Not intentionally. Let's see. Who select E? And then I want to hear the opinion. So Haeyun, why did you select E? Let's see from the A. Yunso, why did you select A? Just explain your opinion about the question. Speak loud, please. 네. Basically, developing student their own idea is first, right? That's why she is pointing out first option. That makes sense, right, to you? What about the B? We select B. Kim Dong-hyun? Yeah.
사원들은 그때 수학교 기록을 하고 제가 이제 선택해서 운동하는데 자기가 이제 수련하고 싶은 걸 이제 잘 기억하는 거잖아요. 그래서 이제 그렇게 연습을 하면은 운동 논리성도 강화될 수 있고 나중에 리스닝의 부족에서도 운동 발달할 수 있는
Yeah. That's a good point as well. Let's see, what about the C then? 태정킴 왜? 이름이 원래 어떻게 돼서? 아, 자. You input in a wrong way, right? You can change your mind, by the way, if you want. Which one do you want to select then? A, B, C? That's a really good question. Oh, I didn't bring that part though. Isn't it? No. Okay, let me explain then. Basically, according to the NCTM standard, so they pointed out three different perspectives in terms of using representation. The first one, create use. So in order to solve any mathematical problem, right, students, they need to create representation. For instance, based on a word problem, they are supposed to create x, ax plus b equal to c, something like that, right? That is basically create and use to solve a mathematical problem. But the second one, let me check. Oops. But the second one, selection and application means, so among the representation, right, you're supposed to select, right, different kind of representation. You're supposed to select, this is the best way. For instance, do you not use the table representation or algebra representation or geometric representation to solve this problem? Oh, this is better than the other, right? That is the selection and apply to the problem to solve a mathematical problem. What about translation? Translation means there are two different representations, right? Or three, even four representation. But for instance, what in a complex analysis, right? You're supposed to understand the addition of two complex numbers should be the diagonal of the parallelogram. That is obviously translation between algebraic representation and geometric representation. That is basically translation. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Three of them? So which one do you want to select then? C? Why did you think so?
수학이라는 것 자체가 개념과 개념 간의 다리라고 생각하거든요. 그래서 C 같은 경우는 뭐 선형대선이라고 하면 대수학과 이렇게 연계시키는 중요한 컨셉입니다. 그게 가장 수학에 잘 맞는 것 같아요.
So makes sense, his opinion about that question. Anyway, so I asked this, several questions basically, related to NCTM standard. The main reason I'm asking this kind of question, you need to think about yourself, why this is more important than others. What about others' opinions about the same question? So after understanding this kind of situation and this kind of interpretation, you may develop your own idea more clearly. Okay, that's why I'm asking this kind of question. What about your defense? What about your justification? Or what about your rationale among the many other options? Okay, I explained last time, first miscellaneous item, September 23rd. Okay, you're supposed to submit next Tuesday in class, before starting class actually. So I just want to clarify. Please see an analysis example for connection on the EKU website. Okay. Also, please submit a copy of textbook you selected. And then can you discuss a hierarchical order of the statement of NCTM process, the 5 process you selected? As I said, you're supposed to select one of them, right? Problem solving, reasoning and proof. What is it? Communication, connection, representation. And then after selecting one of the 5 process, you're supposed to develop mathematical problem. Under each category, you should develop at least 2 different examples from your perspective with your explanation of similarity and differences between them. If there is any related problem in the textbook you selected, you can develop your own problem, both of them, for each category. It does not matter, okay? Because this is, but you need to clarify. This is the problem we develop by ourselves. This is not a problem from the textbook. You need to just clarify, okay? Then I can see, the differences. Any question about the first miscellaneous item? Yes.
문제가 반드시 교과서에서 나와요.
No, you don't have to.
문제집 같은.
But there is some I'm going to deduct some point. For instance, you said there is no problem related to this category, but that's why you're supposed to submit a copy of textbook. But after looking at your textbook, if there is problem, from my perspective, okay, I'm going to deduct some point. Do you understand what I mean? You thought there is no problem related to this category in this textbook. But as I said, you're supposed to submit the textbook, right? You selected. I'm going to review the textbook you submit. If I'm going to find it out, any problem related to that category, I'm going to deduct some point. Okay? So you need to carefully, the main reason I'm going to deduct some point, you need to carefully look at all problem in the textbook. Okay? You cannot just skip reading. You need to carefully analyze, all these problems related to which category and which one, right? That is the main purpose. That's why I'm going to deduct some point if you do not analyze carefully your textbook you selected. Make sense to you? Any question, any other question related to the first miscellaneous item? Yes, Byung-soo.
두 번째 학력 시니어 그 오더가 NCTM 프로세스 그 5가지의 그 상하 구조를 얘기하는.
No. For instance, I just explained representation, right? There are 3 processes. Right. Among the 3 of them, do you think there is hierarchical order or not? You don't have to decide, right? If you don't think there is, but you need to discuss at least. I don't think there is hierarchical order. They are interrelated each other. You may address. However, you need to talk about hierarchical order of 3 of them. For instance, in the case of representation. Make sense to you?
그러면 세 번째에서는 그 각 세부 사항마다 2문제 이상은.
Yes. From the textbook or from your own idea, if there is no problem in the textbook. But as I said, after looking at the textbook you submit to me, after analyzing your textbook, if I'm going to find out appropriate problem or a question, I'm going to deduct it some point. Okay, make sense to you? That's why you need to analyze textbook carefully. Okay? That is one of the main purpose, analysis of the textbook. Okay, that is the one issue in this homework. Yeah.
첫 번째에서 그 텍스트북을 구한다고 하면 하나를 지정을 해서 거기에서 다 찾아가야 돼요.
Yes. Your group selected just one textbook, especially you need to focus on, for instance, linear equation, right? You just take a look at linear equation part because your content. The main reason I'm emphasizing you're supposed to select one topic only. Because after analyzing textbook, the second miscellaneous item is related to conceptual framework mapping. The conceptual framework mapping is related to the topic you selected, okay? You cannot change it. That's why you need to carefully select your topic. Do you understand? In order to develop any assessment item, you should consider two parts. One part, you need to analyze 5 process based on NCTM standard. And then next stage, you need to analyze conceptual mapping. Okay? So if you are going to select, for instance, linear equation, in the first miscellaneous item, you need to analyze textbook based on the 5 process. Second miscellaneous item, probably I'm going to assign next week or the following week, you're supposed to develop conceptual framework related to linear equation only. Make sense to you? That's why you need to select your topic carefully. Okay? You cannot change because I want to combine both of them. In that case, I think you better understand what is going on. That's why I give you a chance for you to select a topic from the many area. You can select any topic, especially in the middle school, in high school, not elementary school, okay? Make sense to you? Linear equation, quadratic equation, anything, okay? But you need to think about which topic most interested to you. That might be helpful, right? For you to think about all of this assessment issue. Any question? Any other question? Yes, 성수.
인터뷰 올려주신 거 봤는데 보고서에는 책에 이제 해당하는 문제만 찍어서 올려서 이제 제출했는데요. 첫 번째는 그럼 텍스트북을 한 권을 아예 내야 되는 건가요?
No, not just the whole textbook, just a part of it. For instance, if you are going to select a linear equation, only the copy of linear equation part should be submitted. Yeah. Any other question? I already uploaded some problem set, 서울시 and 경기도. Okay, I think maybe some of you already saw it. So, based on those problem set, you're supposed to take the midterm exam. Okay, during the midterm period. So please start to study those content because I'm going to make a similar problem, right? Like the problem set, the problem set developed by 서울시 and 경기도, okay, the city of Seoul. So I'm going to explain more precisely next time. I'm going to stop here and then I'm going to explain the team study a little bit more. Okay, think about this way. You still may be wondering, so how can you develop assessment item, right? Because you do understand 5 process based on NCTM standard. But you're still wondering, so how can you develop mathematical essay problem or any mathematical assessment item? So in order to develop any mathematical problem, mathematical essay problem, you should understand how to ask question, right? A lot of different kind of question is possible. That's why I'm introduced the team study. Okay, how they develop their conceptual framework as well as how to ask mathematical problem. You can better understand from this study. In other words, take a look at assessment item should be, in developing assessment item, you should think about different mathematical activity. What is different mathematical activity? In other words, mathematical process, right? Make sense to you? But in addition to understand mathematical activity, you should understand how to ask, right? Question in order to evaluate those mathematical activity. So also later, as I said, different conceptual structure. You are going to have a chance to work on this issue. As I said, first miscellaneous item is related to textbook analysis based on NCTM5 process. Second miscellaneous item, you're supposed to develop conceptual framework or conceptual mapping. I'm going to explain maybe next time, okay? Probably the following week. Anyway, I'm going to provide, representative example as well. You can take a look at how can we analyze conceptual mapping. For instance, algebra, real analysis. I'm going to provide an example. Or even linear equation, quadratic equation, how can you analyze? Because conceptual framework or conceptual mapping can emphasize what is the key concept, right? You should understand what is the key concept students supposed to understand in the category of linear equation or quadratic equation, right? That's why we are going to cover maybe the following week conceptual structure. But before doing that, we are going to focus on mathematical activity once again, okay? But as I said, take a look at. This is the TINS conceptual framework. Here is content, number, algebra, measurement, geometry, and data. Here is kind of conceptual framework which was used in TIMSS study. By the way, do you understand what is the TIMSS? Trend in International Mathematics and Science and Study. You often see in the news, right? Public news. Korea in mathematics is the first. 8th grader or 4th grader is the first among the, I think, 64 country anyway. So those kind of information I think you read often. But one of the most important tests internationally is this one. Right? Usually Korea mathematics ranking maybe within 5 in this study, TIMSS study. Basically, trend in international mathematics and science study. They're supposed to, provide, for instance, all 8th graders internationally. And then after collecting those data, they compare the results. What is the score? What is the, weakness? What is the strength of student in each country? Anyway, according to the TIMSS conceptual framework, as you can see, this kind of table they provided. One is content, the other is what? Kind of mathematical process, right? As you can see. One is knowing fact and procedure, using concept, solving routine problem, and reasoning. There are 4 different categories. As you can see, this is content domain. It is called, according to the TIMSS, cognitive domain. Make sense to you? Anyway, in order to develop any assessment item, you need to think about these 2 categories, right? One is content, the other is cognitive domain or mathematical process. Okay, let's take a look at carefully, each part of it. Knowing fact and procedure. What kind of question teams think about based on this category? As I said, there are 4 categories, right? I'm going to cover all of them next time probably, but take a look at once again. Knowing fact and procedure, using concept, solving routine problem, reasoning, right? You can think of, how these 4 categories related to NCTM5 processes. Okay? But anyway, so after explaining all category in teams, we will have some time to discuss, the relationship as well as what kind of, question you can think of. Knowing fact and procedure. Teams provide much more concrete example and concrete idea about, the question, how to ask. For instance, recall, definition, property, convention is related to knowing fact and procedure. For instance, they provide A plus A plus A equal to 3A, A times equal to AQ. Traditional, right, way of representation. Recognize, identify mathematical entities that are mathematical equivalent. For instance, they simplified algebraic expression, differently oriented simple geometric figure. Also, they compute algorithmic procedure. Obviously, you can think of many examples, right? For instance, simplify, factor, expand algebraic expression, right? Also use tools such as mathematics and measuring instruments. What do you think? You may never thought about this issue, but according to the teams, they want to emphasize this part as well under the category what? Knowing fact and procedure. So basically, this one we are going to cover next time, okay? Make sense to you? So basically, what kind of term, what kind of idea you may develop in order to develop assessment item, okay? That is going to be main content we are going to cover next time. That's all for today.